I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of a creaking door. At first, I thought it was a dream, or maybe the nurses making their rounds, but something about the sound was deliberate. My hospital room was dimly lit, just the faint glow of the nightlight casting shadows on the walls. I was alone, or so I thought. I blinked and saw him, a man standing silently at the foot of my bed. His presence wasn't threatening at first, it was just wrong. He wasn't wearing hospital clothes, didn't look like a visitor or staff. He was dressed in an old-fashioned suit, dark and impeccable, and his eyes were fixed on me, unblinking, unreadable. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, frozen, trapped under my own skin. My heart raced and I could feel every thump echoing in the otherwise silent room. I whispered, "Who are you?" Nothing, no response, just the faint creak of the floorboards as he shifted slightly. I tried to sit up, throwing the covers off, and the instant I moved, he was closer, not in a natural way. Not the way a person could move, but in a way that made the air feel thick, constricted. I could see the wrinkles around his eyes, the sharpness of his jaw, the unnatural stillness in his posture. I realized then that he had been standing there the whole time, waiting. The clock on the wall read 2:14 a.m., and yet the air felt heavier with every second. I wanted to call for help, but my voice wouldn't come out. It wasn't fear exactly, it was disbelief. I shook my head, trying to convince myself that this was some hallucination, the medication, the fatigue, anything rational. But rational thoughts didn't stop the shadows stretching across the floor, didn't stop the faint scent of cologne that wasn't coming from me, didn't stop the realization that the man's eyes were now moving, following me, without moving his head. I tried to blink it away, rub my eyes, force myself awake, but the moment I opened them again, he had moved, closer, not a step, not a shuffle, but closer. The distance between us felt like it was shrinking with some invisible force. My chest tightened. The machines beeped faintly, rhythmically, and yet even those beeps seemed to sync with the slow, deliberate pressure I felt from him. I forced myself to look around, trying to see if anyone else was in the room. The nurse's station was dark, the hallway silent. Nothing, just the man, now sitting on the edge of the chair that had been empty earlier. Legs crossed, hands resting on his knees. His presence filled the room in a way that made it impossible to ignore. I wanted to scream, to leap out of the bed, but my body refused. I was trapped, pinned down by a weight I couldn't see. Minutes passed like hours. Every flicker of the fluorescent lights above, every distant beep from the monitors seemed to underscore the impossibility of the situation. I focused on his eyes, trying to find any sign of recognition, any human expression. Nothing, just a deep, empty patience. Then I noticed the shadows. They weren't static. They moved unnaturally, stretching toward him, recoiling from me, reacting to his presence. My mind raced. Was this real? Some trick of light? A hallucination brought on by exhaustion? I couldn't trust my own senses anymore. The man tilted his head slightly, as if acknowledging that I was awake now. That subtle motion was more terrifying than anything else. It was deliberate, aware, intelligent. I forced myself to breathe, to remind myself that I had a reason, a purpose, survival, observation, documentation. I was going to record everything in my mind, every detail, in case I survived this night. I watched him reach slowly toward the bedside table. I expected him to touch the call button, to interact with the world I knew. Instead, his hand hovered above the surface, and the objects on the table, the water cup, the medications, the remote, all trembled and shifted without him touching them. My eyes widened. My rational mind screamed, and yet I couldn't look away. A sudden noise from the hallway made me jerk my head. A nurse, a doctor, footsteps. But the moment I turned, the corridor was empty. The man's eyes were on me again, unwavering, and I realized with cold clarity that he had been controlling more than just the shadows. He had been controlling the environment itself. Every creak, every flicker, every shifting object had been a part of him. I tried to pray silently, mutter anything that might ground me, and in response, the man's expression changed. Just slightly, just a hint. He seemed amused. The weight in the room increased. I couldn't move, couldn't think clearly. My mind teetered on the edge of panic. And then he did something I will never forget. He leaned forward, close enough that I could see the detail of his eyes, the faint veins on the sclera, the depth of color that made them look almost alive. His lips moved, and yet I heard no sound, no whisper, no words. And yet in my mind the message came clear as day. You are not alone. The room grew colder. I shivered violently. I wanted to scream, to throw myself at him, to wake up from this nightmare. But I was awake, completely, horrifyingly awake. Then, as if testing me, he vanished, not walked away, not slipped into the shadows. Gone. The room was empty again, the shadows receding, the machines beeping normally. the hallway quiet. And yet, I knew he hadn't left. He was still there, watching, waiting. I sat in the bed for hours, staring at the door, listening to every creak, every whisper of air. When morning came, the staff found me shaken, pale, muttering incoherently about a man who had never been seen before. They checked the monitors, the cameras, even the logs. Nothing, no evidence, no visitor, nothing out of place. But I remember. I remember the cold, the weight, the way the shadows moved. I remember the eyes that pierce through reality itself. And I know, beyond all reason, that he will return. Not in the night, not in the hallways, but always, waiting, patient, watching, just beyond the edge of what I can perceive. I leave this recording as a warning. If you find yourself alone, in a room that should be safe, pay attention to the shadows, listen to the silence. And if you ever see a man standing where he shouldn't be, don't move, don't speak, and don't blink. Because once he notices you, you are part of the room too. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And tell us in the comments which part scared you the most, and drop your ideas in the comments. Your idea might be our next nightmare.